can't deprive someone the choice of how they want to live their life.
That's exactly what you're doing with abortion. You're literally depriving someone of the choice to live their life.
It's not a black. It's not a. I was going to say black or white.
No,
Awkward.
When you said, and maybe you can rephrase what you said that we can't basically tell another person how to live their life. Is that right?
Yes.
So just logically, let's want to follow that logic. Does that same logic apply to the church? Basically, what I hear is we can't tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And when I think about that logically, I'm like, okay, does that apply to someone who wants to rob a bank or, steal something? People usually don't say, hey, you can't tell that person what to do even though they're going in to rob a bank. You can't tell that person they can't embezzle money. So just logically, I think it's flawed there, right? A little bit.
Let me. My mother had 2 abortions.
Yeah.
She had to. She couldn't afford to stop working. She couldn't afford more kids.
Yeah.
Both of the children were accidents. They weren't planned.
Right.
I was 8 years old for the first one, a little older for the second. I didn't disagree. I lived in the same house. There was no option.
What?
There was no option in our house.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So that's a lot of why I believe what I believe. You can't force somebody to bring a child into the world.
So they had you before they had that decision.
Yes.
What would happen if, let's say you were 2 years old and your father or mother, whoever's the breadwinner, lost their job and they can't afford to raise you anymore? Do they have the right to kill you so that life is easier, there's more convenience for them?
It's not the same thing, and you know that.
I don't know that.
Well, I think
It's not.
That's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah, because this is a good conversation to have, right? And I think a lot of times when you might see groups, you're like, oh, they're going to be mean. I think these conversations have to happen.
Yeah.
But to his point, the difference, the really only difference is location. So outside of the womb, and they're still dependent, right? They still need care. But inside the womb, we say we can't do anything about that. We can't force. But do you believe that abortion should be legal in all cases, in all instances, or are you just talking about the small percentage of things like that? What do you believe about those?
What things? I believe it should be stopped at a certain trimester, maybe the last one. If you haven't made up your mind by the last trimester, I don't want to say you should be forced to have it, but the fetus is just too developed at that point.
And when you say fetus, what do you mean? Do you mean human?
Okay, but we can call it whatever we want.
But
fetus, human, embryo.
What do you believe it is, though?
It's getting to be more of a human. I don't think it's a complete human, but it's getting. I mean, we call it an embryo in the beginning and a fetus, so we're not calling it a human.
Well, what kind of embryo is it?
Okay, it's a human embryo. But if you look at evolution, all embryos look the same. Fish embryos look the same. I mean, an embryo. If you look at a very young embryo, it looks like a fish.
But you believe,
maybe 100 years ago we could say that, but now that we can look at DNA, you can look even closer into that embryo and see that's not a fish. I mean, you can look into the DNA makeup from the moment of conception.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's okay because it looks like a fish.
Right. Oh, we're just breaking down the discussion here. That's all.
And
We're
just kind of following the logic.
Yeah.
You would agree, I believe, that it's a human, and it's at just a different stage of development.
Trust me, I'm not comfortable with how I feel.
That's good.
I've gone through the experience of it, and I just think people in this country, we're supposed to be a free country, should have the right to decide how they want to live their life.
Unless it's a bank robber or a rapist or something else, right?
Until it starts harming someone else.
Right. But logically, right? Like we can't say in a vacuum, hey, people should be able to do what they want, but then you tell the pedophile, don't do what you want.
Yeah. You're trying to make a logical and rational argument about something that there is no rational and logical answer to.
You don't think there's a rational and logical answer to the child in the womb?
I think there's two conflicting things here that are just very powerful. A person's right to decide about their own body and the life of a human. Okay, whatever you call
their
it, I'll call
body.
it a human.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
I want to make it very clear. I say this in love to you because
Thank
a
you.
lot of times
Thank you.
when people have these opinions, when they know
Yeah.
someone who's had an abortion or they've had an abortion themselves,
Yes.
you said your mother had to have two. You know, so it might be a little bit, maybe you don't think about it, maybe subconsciously it's a little hard to think, did my mom do something wrong? You know, maybe your brain doesn't want to start to think that way. That's understandable. Nobody would want to think that. My mom's done some horrible things.
Yeah.
Even I don't want to think about the things I know she's done.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But so it's hard to start to talk about those things and admit it. But I lost my train of thought there. So I started going on.
Do I think she did a horrible thing or no?
No, that's not where I'm trying to go. I'm just saying let's recognize kind of what's
Yeah.
stopping that thought process to go further. And I really wish I could go with that. But
there wasn't any remorse or regret in my house.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
all
So
knew.
here's what I was going to
Two
say.
adults and 3 children knew it was the right thing.
Forgive me if this is a hard question. Was
Sure.
your mother raped?
No.
Okay. So then her choice was to lay down and have sex because we all love sex.
Right.
It feels really good.
Right.
We want to do it.
Yeah.
And then so our choice is to have sex and create that life or not. And when you make that decision, that's you making that choice. But then you don't get to say, well, I really wanted to have that good, pleasurable feeling, but I don't think I want to work hard enough to take care of this child, or I don't have the ability to take care of this child. And that's where your choice is. Women have the choice to lay down and have sex with a husband, man, whatever, and get pregnant. We don't want to take that away at all.
Right.
I would never want to take that away. That's too much fun. But that is where your choice is at. And once that decision has been made, you've created that life, and you don't get to bring harm to another human being out of your own convenience, your own selfishness, whatever it is. Some people it's selfishness, some people it's lack of feeling like they can do anything. And yes, maybe back then there might not have been a lot of options for them, and it may have been harder. It still doesn't justify it, in my opinion. But today we have so many options for women, whether it be helping them find someone to adopt the child. We've got clinics. I have one 2 miles from my house that I help out, and they will take a woman in. They will give them everything they need up until the day that child starts school: food, clothing, diapers, car seats, everything. So there's no excuse there. Yet we still have so many women that say, no, I'd rather just kill this child and walk away. And that's the mindset we're just trying to get rid of, because our kids are raised up thinking it's no big deal. I mean, you were raised up at 8 years old thinking it's just something that had to happen.
And it's a big, it's a big deal, right? Like my father wanted to abort me, and I always ask people this, like, should I be dead? And of course they're like, well, I'm not. Who am I to decide? They say, who am I to decide? But logically, they're also saying, well, the woman decided to take the life, right? And I look at, like, we have a 3.5-year-old who's turning 4 this year, and I show people pictures of him. I'm like, if I wanted to keep him and my wife didn't, nothing's wrong. We got plenty of finances. All that's good. Should be able to take his life. And people have to say yes, but they know that that's wrong. And I don't know where you're at with stuff and faith, but we're Christians, and the umbrella of all of this while we're here is the gospel. Have you heard of the gospel before?
I've heard of it. Yes, I've heard of it.
What do you tell me about the gospel?
Let me address 2 things you said.
Okay, sure.
One, my parents, yes, they made a choice to have sex, but they obviously didn't make a choice to have a child, or they wouldn't have.
Well, that's how the child gets made.
I know, but you were sort of assuming that the 2 things were going on. They wanted to have a child, they wanted to have sex, and they wanted to have a child, but they didn't want to have a child, obviously. Okay, and the other thing is, I don't think there's enough support in place in this country. They seem to always cut back on aid to the poor, and that could. Yes, I agree.
We don't care for people enough, like, for sure.
Okay. Oh, good.
We don't care for people.
We're in
enough.
agreement on that.
Me as a Christian, I don't care for people enough.
People don't feel comfortable enough to bring up a child because there's not going to be enough support.
Right.
And that almost seems to be a policy in this country to cut back on the poor first. So
we've got two problems there. They're either not taken
Yeah.
care of enough, or they're taken care of too much to the point where they don't feel like they have to work hard enough to take care of themselves, and that continues that horrible cycle. So we're with you on that. We don't want babies to be born and tossed out on the street.
Right.
We want them to live good lives. We want them to
Yeah.
have the opportunity to live a good life. So
Yeah.
many people are saying, what happens if that kid is going to be born into an ancestral home or in a home of abuse? Well, we don't know that. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and we can't say we don't want that kid to be harmed, so we murder them. You know, we don't harm the child so it doesn't get harmed.
Same with
right?
the baby outside of the womb. If it's like, hey, I'm going to give up this baby, but letting you guys know I'm going to give them up to a family that they may or may not take care of them, and logically you'd have to say, don't do that. Just
Listen, you guys, I love talking to you guys. You guys are great. I got to be someplace at 11:30.
all right. Man, check this out.
Give you some,
I'll take some
literature
literature.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some great info in there. There's a
Sorry.
QR code that'll give you lots more information.
And we're also here to share Jesus, that all of
Okay.
us, the ground is level at the cross.
Yeah.
All of sin and fallen short of the glory of God. The sin of abortion, any sin that we commit, it can only be forgiven through Christ. So he calls us to repent and trust in him. And this is the good news, that yes, people have had abortions, people have lied, stolen, murdered in their heart, lusted, done all these things. All can be washed and wiped in Christ alone. This is the greatest news ever. That's what we're here to share. It's not just about abortion. This is a big deal, but the gospel is true. So if you've heard the gospel before, please just consider it and think on it. Think on it a little bit more. What's your name again?
Jerry.
Jerry, I'm Joseph. It's
Joseph,
really nice
nice to
Kyle.
meet you guys.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to have
you.
a great discussion about
Thank you.
Sure, thanks for stopping.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you for stopping.
Be safe.
Have a great day today.
You too. Take care.